Yeah, thank you.
The fruit coat, sugar.
Candy free.
You're not helping. You're not helping.
All right, I'll call this order at 7 o'clock. Let's go to the pledge of the flag.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have the Visitor Citizens Forum. At this time, any person with business before the council not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the council. The council may not comment or deliberate. Such statements during this period except as authorized under the Texas County Code. Is everyone sign that? Yes. All right, next up, we have public hearings. So we have several public hearings tonight. Some of these relate to changes in the legislature's made. So we have to, unfortunately, they're on a fast track. So we have to do a bunch of changes to the law before September 1st. So we have to have hearings to make the changes. And so that's what some of these things are, just to let you know. All right, first up. Public hearing is scheduled on the proposed combined property tax rate of 0.415 per $100 to provide an opportunity for citizen comment. So we'll open the public hearing. So obviously the tax rate is going to be 41.5, still lower than everyone else, but that's necessary for the roads. Basically, what we're doing is we are 41.5 cents is what our tax rate should have been for the last 5 years. That's what it would have been to pay for the roads. But we didn't. We kept it at 30, and we used our other money to make up the difference. That's what we've been doing all these years. This year, this next year, we can't do that because we need to save the money for the down payment on the new roads. So we can't take $150,000 out of our general fund and do that and still get the new roads. You can't do that. So for this next year coming ahead, we have to raise the tax rate up to be what it should have been. And that way we have the money for the down payment on the new roads. So that's kind of, if we don't do that, we can't do the roads. It's that simple. Without the money to get the financing, we can't do it. So that's where that number came from. That's why it's 41.5 cents. That's what it takes. Are there any questions from the audience?
At that tax rate, how much additional money does that bring in?
Our bond payment is about $180,000 for the roads. This is going to, the nickel that we had before, the 5 cents, we were at 30. That brought in about 50,000. So this will now bring in an additional 130, which will be the 180, which will be the bond payment. So it's about that. Our taxable base is a little over 100 million in value in the city. And we got the final numbers a week ago. They certified, and the overall tax for the city was up a little over 4.5%. Was the value that went up citywide. That was the taxable appreciation. Just FYI.
That's the engineers we've been seeing around town.
Yes, when we get to the road, Joe and Brittany are going to talk about the roads, and that'll be, the road project is underway. It's already underway. We've already written some big checks, and it's underway. They'll bring that up. But that's the issue with the tax rate. So, I mean, Little Elm just lowered their tax rate, I believe, from 65 to 64.8 or something. Everybody is still significantly higher. Lake Dallas, I believe, 74. Oak Point is 56 or 57. Little Elm is obviously 65 or so, plus or minus a half a cent. They're around 65. And for us, the nice thing about us is we're keeping the regular operating rate always at 25 cents. So legally, what that means is that if the roads get paid off, it reverts back to 25 cents. You cannot keep any of that extra stuff because it's only for debt. You can't turn around and say, we're going to keep it because we like getting all that extra money. Let's go build some, let's build ball fields or something. You can't do that.
When will they be, I know it's in works, when will we see digging up your breaker?
Oh, that's, well, they're going to talk about that when we get to it. Because we just changed the calendar. We made some significant alterations in the calendar. And Joe and Britt are going to talk about that. Okay? Any other questions about the tax rate? Now, the other thing I'll mention, just passing is, remember, our tax is only a fraction of the bigger tax bill. So your overall tax bill, the overall big bill that you get, is going to go up a little over 5%, because we're a small fraction of your big bill. So the average home value in Lakewood Village is about, it's $397,000, which means the average person with this tax increase is going to pay a little bit under $200 more. That's the cost of the concrete road. It's about $200 on average. Clearly, some of us pay more than others, but the overall average works out to be about $200 a year for the new streets. Okay.
I motion to close the public hearing on the tax rate.
All right, I have a motion to close.
Second.
Daryl's got the second. All those in favor? Okay. Next up, we have a public hearing. Public hearing scheduled on the ordinance amending the zoning ordinance subdivision regulation ordinance, the building codes to cause said ordinance to be in compliance with House Bill 2439, 3167, 2497. Take effect on September 1, 2019. Provide an opportunity for citizen comment. So, does everybody understand what this public hearing is? I'm sure you're all plugged in. You all know exactly what that gobbledygook means, right? So the state passed a few laws that basically said cities are not allowed to, it's kind of murky, but cities can no longer regulate the aesthetics on houses. So if it's in a code, then you've got to allow it. So for instance, we have masonry requirements, and most cities do, that the legislature removed that. So if you want to put up aluminum siding or make a house totally out of, I don't know what would be, what non-masonry, then you can.
Can you get a carport?
No, it's about materials. It's about the materials. And it's unclear when they did it, what they actually, the wording is very murky. So a lot of cities are struggling with what it actually means. And so what the attorney, because they made it effective September 1. But the problem with the law was, which they didn't think it through, is that if your zoning ordinance says, you have to use, a certain kind, or, you have to have stucco houses. That's in your zoning. And now they say, you can't make that. They can make their house out of anything they want. Well, in order for you to take that out of your zoning ordinance and change it, it's hard to change your zoning ordinance. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through, because that's how people use their land. So it's very difficult. That's why we have public hearings, and we meet about it for 3 months. We make sure everybody gets it, because changing zoning is a lot of procedural steps. So the legislature kind of screwed up and said, we want you to change this, but we're going to make it effective September 1. It all is in play. Well, we got to, it's almost like it's an impossible thing. You got to run real fast to try and, you can't change it that fast. So this is the attorneys representing a lot of cities saying, we're basically going to write an ordinance that says, anything in your ordinance which doesn't meet the law is no good anymore, until you can go back and rewrite it. So that's kind of what this is. It's a very, very messed up situation. And we're not even sure how it's going to affect us. We don't even know. But fortunately for us, we're small. Big cities will figure it out for us. But the reason why there's a public hearing is because we can't change these ordinances without there being a public hearing as part of the hoop jumping. questions?
Thanks for explaining
I don't want to explain the ordinances. Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Matt's got a second, all those in favor? Okay, thank you very much, all right. Next up, we have a public hearing is scheduled to provide an opportunity for citizen comment on proposed ordinance changes in F6 through F10. So basically what we like to do is whenever we are going to be discussing an ordinance, usually it's a new ordinance, what we do is we like to allow the citizens to be able to give us some inputs before we enact the ordinance, just to kind of see if you have something to say about it. 6, 7, 8 are all about, or 6 and 7 deal with the, again, part of this law change, and there's nothing really to discuss. You don't have a choice, we have to do it, so that's that. If you looked in the packet, we are going to be talking tonight about the nuisance ordinance, the oversized vehicle parking ordinance, and the junked vehicle ordinance. We're going to be talking about those, trying to realign those, that different things are in different ordinances now, and they've been superseded, and it's kind of a cleanup effort to try and figure out what's what, and put things in their right spot. And we'll talk about that when it goes. So one of the issues that we're going to be discussing is previously we used to not allow you to park oversized vehicles, trailers, boats. You can't park that on the street. You got to put that on your own property. You can't use the city street as storage area. That got eliminated, or that hasn't been in play for a while, but we're bringing it back. We've received numerous complaints about some large vehicles, so we're going to be discussing that tonight. That's one issue in the nuisance ordinance. It's in parking that we're going to be bringing back. The other things in nuisance are just cleaning up some things which were already like burning regulations, but those are already in the fire code. They're in the fire code, so we don't have to have them in the nuisance ordinance. They don't belong there. Burning is a fire thing. I asked you where would you look to find information on fires. You'd say the fire code. That's where it is. So we're doing some of that cleanup. The other issue is, and I'm throwing this out there to the audience, is that we've never had a noise ordinance. We've never put noise into a city ordinance in the nuisance. It's never covered noise. And in the past, the discussions basically were, you called the county, the sheriff's department. Because if you have a noise, usually the noisy stuff doesn't happen between 9 and 4. It happens on Saturday night. We're not here. I'm not going to run down there and determine whether or not somebody's, party is too loud, right? So we've never really put noise into our ordinances because we just don't have a good way to enforce it. But the county will. If there's a problem, if there's loud noise or a party or something, we call the kid, they do come. When we had the Airbnb issues, that was one of the things they told us was call us. We will come out if there's excessive noise and partying, and we will come out and we'll do it. So part of the discussion tonight is going to be with the council, should we put a noise-related thing in our nuisance ordinance for the city so we could then enforce it, or do we leave it to the sheriff's department to enforce it? That's a discussion we're going to have. If you would like to give an opinion, I think we're listening. But
How would that be enforced? Like a fine?
just our regular, just like tall weeds and grass and stuff, you get a letter from us and tell you to please stop. You get warnings, and we work out the details, but it's a municipal ordinance. Yeah, Cheryl?
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because I don't know how you're going to enforce that either, because look at the fireworks. 4th of July, they're all over this town. I mean, we can't do anything about it. The time you call somebody and they come out, that little group of people that's done it, it's already quit. Time somebody got here. So I don't,
I think it won't change.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, for us, fireworks present a unique problem because you can just go down to the water's edge and you're not in the city anymore, you're in the county. Fireworks are legal in the county. You can shoot off the universe on core property. I'm not saying federal, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. But it's not happening just there.
Fair enough. But, and you could call the sheriff's department, but are they gonna come for fireworks? I don't know. We have a sheriff's deputy. I have a funny feeling that's probably gonna be low on their priority on July 4th.
I'm just curious how we would.
Any other questions?
So is there a lot of Airbnbs in? Lake
We had
Forest?
one and it's now gone. So, your neighbor is, do you know your neighbor sold the property, right?
No.
Yeah, he did, he sold it. Yeah. So, the Airbnb problem was, the neighbors and everything, it got resolved. The neighbors talked with them and let them know, and it resolved itself. Okay? All right, got a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I got a motion to close. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Almost seconded your own motion.
I was trying to vote.
Okay, all right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Good night.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, all right, let's get to the regular agenda. All right, first up, we have an update on the Dark Skies community designation. That would be Linda. We have several Dark Skies people here. Linda, obviously Cheryl did a ton of work on it. You can introduce the people if you want.
Yeah, Cheryl has been significant in helping us through this process. She's done a lot of work. And on July 31st, we were notified that the town has been preliminarily approved as a dark sky community. The only thing that we needed to do was some really minor adjustments to the information in our application. And it wasn't really anything new. They just wanted to take the information regarding the application and have it restated, maybe in a way that was easier for them to understand. So that's the item that you're going to be considering next is really the only significant change is the inclusion of that graph. But everything else was very, very minor, and I expect that as soon as we get that turned in, we should have a response pretty quickly and have our official designation.
And obviously when that happens, we'll have some PR.
Probably have some fireworks.
Cheryl, you want to get the fireworks for that?
I will call in.
As long as there's loud music.
One thing I saw in the application, it's so impressive. It'd be nice if we get that out for everybody to see. So it is great.
It was very good. It's on the website, right?
It's on the website.
I think it's on the website, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And this is, this is.
And it will be, as soon as we're approved, that's kind of, when we're approved, then our application as a package is presented on the Dark Skies, the International Dark Skies website as well. And they'll be directed to us.
Now, one of the things we're going to be doing under the Dark Skies.
Under ordinances, master plan.
So what we're going to be doing under the umbrella there is we're going to be having a star party, right, Cheryl? So on September 21st, we're going to be having, they're going to bring out the telescopes, and it'll be at the end of Kerry Lane, and we're going to come out and be able to, we got big telescopes and all that, we'll set them up so everybody can come out and see the moon and Pluto and Jupiter and all that. I've never seen a telescope, I've never looked at it. So, anyway, that's going to be pretty neat. We're looking forward to that in September. So.
Mark, can I introduce the new people that has come on board?
Absolutely.
With our staff?
Yeah.
Ed and Linda did most of this. I feel funny taking any credit at all. All I did was do a little bit of educational piece at the.
That was a big piece. That was a big piece.
But we now have Jamie Newsom is on the team, ex-school teacher. And we have Pam Radcliffe, where you at, Pam? She has come on board, ex-principal. So we're really moving along with our educational piece.
Okay, there you go.
And then
And then Lynn?
Lynn Burkhart, Master Gardener. So that's going to be our project for the insects and the animals and stuff. It's kind of effective too. And I really can't thank them enough for coming on board. We need it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and then Lynn Stewart, who's not here, is also going to be involved in one of the song parties.
I'm excited. I think there was 16, maybe we're number 17 in the whole United States. That's great. And the only one in Metroplex, so we're gonna start running that, that will get out. And looking forward to publicizing that, so that's terrific. So when the thing came back, one of the issues that Linda was talking about was they had put in words kind of a timetable for when we're going to become compliant, and they kind of wanted it in a table, make it a little bit, I guess, easier to read. I'm not really sure. So this is what it was, and this is just when the city is going to be compliant. So we're saying, we're going to do this for us. This has nothing to do with residents. This is just when we're going to be compliant with our street lights. So we've already done most of the street lights. It's just we have to do the shores. So the plan for that is waiting for the developer to come in and then just piggyback whatever design they have. Right? Just order 8 more or whatever, and off we go. And we all know that land plan is coming.
With the aliens, maybe?
Yeah. In the next millennium, who knows? They're coming. Yeah. So we've committed to put in our lights when they show up. So, we're committed. And then obviously these other issues here with the building and the town hall facility. Sewer plant, we're working on a whole electrical redo on the sewer plant. We have to underground utilities there, and they'll probably be part of that process. So, even though we don't have to, I suggested to Ed that I think it would be good when they send it back, the edits and everything, that they can say, the town council looked at this, and we are committed. We're serious. We want to be dark skies, and the council is committed. And, they're willing to commit to this schedule that we will retrofit our stuff in the future. So I think it's a nice touch when we send it back. And anyway, that's why this is here. Does anybody have any kind of questions on it? It was in the report. It was in there. It was in a paragraph. So what I'd like somebody to motion to approve the amendment to the Dark Skies application.
I make a motion to approve the amendment to the Dark Skies application.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Daryl's got the second. All those in favor? All right, thank you. I think that'll be really helpful when they send it back. Okay, next up, the roads. All right, so Brittany is here. Everybody should have maps and a new schedule. Everybody's got their maps. So let me preface this. So I went out to McKinney and met with Kinley Horn and basically said, let's change the schedule. Let's see what we can do to expedite the schedule, and this is kind of the first. So one result was the new schedule, and then kind of as a condition of the schedule, then fair's fair, they've got to start doing the engineering. We got to get the engineering task approved. So that's kind of why this is happening now. Because if we want them to do engineering faster, we got to get the task approved, right? So that's kind of the logic behind tonight. So Brittany, after you.
So I'm going to give you guys a quick update and bring everybody up to speed on where we are so far in the project, and then let you know, I really want to I think if you'll pull out this schedule, this updated schedule, I think that's the best way if I go through this to walk through the project. So we started back in February with our phase 1 of the project, which was geotech. And that has all been completed, the report has been submitted, and so we're good to go. That was the first step of one of the things that we needed in order to make sure that the typical section, the pavement thickness that was used on phase 1 of the project was still going to work for this phase. So phase 2 was surveyed, and we were authorized to get going on that back in July, so that has been started. You guys may have seen the survey crews out there, and this is essential to our design. We need this, that's the next step of what we need in order to lay out the roads and start our design. So With that, the next step is going to be preliminary and final civil engineering and design. And so what will happen is we've now moved that up. Our pinch point, our key date that we kind of backed everything out of was Monday, March 9th. So we want to award the project to a contractor no later than that week in order to make all of the funding work and get this project going. So what we did is we kind of backed our way into when we needed to start preliminary and final design. So preliminary design, we'd like to get started. We expect survey to be done mid to late September. We'd like to get going on our civil design as soon as we get that survey in. We have about 2 months in there for preliminary design. What we'll do is we'll bring that back, submit that to the town, get some review comments. Then we move into final design. Again, there's another review period after that. There's cost estimates along the way, making sure that everything is where we are expecting it to. Things will start to tighten up, less contingency. That will finish up after that review, any revisions that need to be done, and prepare the plans and specifications for bidding. That's going to be early, well, actually it'll be late January. Then we move into the bidding phase. So you guys will have everything that you need. We will advertise this on the public market that's required. Contractors will have a chance to meet with us and discuss the project so that everybody is on level playing field. That happens at the pre-bid meeting. At the bid opening, we receive all of the bids. We'll tabulate them, organize them from lowest bidder up to the highest. And then we'll call their references, make sure that they're reputable, that they're insured and licensed, and then we'll make a recommendation to the town. And then that brings us to that month, that first week, second week of March, where you guys will have the opportunity to award the contract. So and then we're looking at about, there's some administrative things that have to go on after the contract is awarded. The contracts have to be executed, and then they should get their notice to proceed, and we're thinking it'll take about 8 months to construct from start to finish. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys
On the
have.
survey, so the survey guys out there now,
Correct.
they're doing topos, right? Because they're going up, marching all the way across, about every 10 feet, they're going all the way across the mortgages back and forth.
Yes, sir.
So that's, but they're not marking the monuments, right? Or they're not doing the kosher boxes,
They're doing that at the same time.
they are.
Correct. So what happens, their step one is they went and found corners at each of the property at the front of the property. That lets us know where there's existing right of way. Then step two is they start going and doing the topo. So that's where you're seeing them every 10 feet dropping the rod and taking a shot. At the same time, so they don't have to go back twice, they're letting us know where the mailboxes are, where the code center boxes are, where the flow lines of the ditches are. So all of that is happening in one process.
Okay, so they're not going to come back.
Shouldn't, unless, so here's what happens, and this is part of our civil design. We get the survey, and what we do is we print all of that out, and Joe and I and our team will come walk this survey. So we'll walk and make sure, and we'll say, okay, it looks like there's a mailbox here on our sheet. Did we get that? Is that actually what's there? Or did we miss a, brick landscape island that needs to be shown? So we're making sure that they shot everything. So there are cases sometimes where they miss things. So there's a possibility that we would have to say, hey, you didn't shoot this manhole. You need to come back out here and get that.
But they're not going to stake anything.
Correct.
This round. And once they get on the street, then they're done, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the staking happens after the contract is awarded. The contractor they've got their preferred surveyor. They come out and stake the project based on our plans. So that will happen at a much later date.
Yeah, when they stake, that's when you talked about last week about walking through it ourselves, right?
Yeah, so I think some of the things, when you're going to do the walkthrough would be, because when you walk in, you're walking a survey. You're not walking a preliminary design, you're walking a survey.
Correct.
So when we get to preliminary design, I think we want to walk it to see, is the road wiggling or, where, I have a funny feeling that our stuff isn't in the easements.
Yeah, and so what we can do with that, once we get the survey back and we see what's out there,
Yeah.
we should be able to identify any of those conflicts way before we get into our final design. So that is something that we'll work through at the preliminary stages, and we'll be able to make recommendations to you guys on how we might clean that up. And this is a great opportunity to go ahead and do that as part of this project.
Yeah, one of the things I met with the fire department this week to talk about some of the courts. So they're gonna give me their minimum design requirements.
Okay.
The cul-de-sacs at the end of the streets, like Cary, you have to put those back
Right.
because that's the end of, but they agree that courts are short enough, they can back out.
Okay.
So they're trying to give me, because some of them aren't built yet, you know, as we know.
Right.
Whether or not we get some sort of trapezoidal configuration or something. But then the other question came up, I met this week also, the garbage company. They've got to be able to turn their trucks around. They've got to be able to get the garbage.
Right.
And so we've got them using smaller trucks. They switched out the trucks, so people don't recognize it. You don't know, but they're using smaller garbage trucks now. We got them to change the fleet. But that's part of the design for us, you know, I'm thinking out there that, you know, we don't want the garbage trucks to do a 28-point turn and end up grinding the crap out of the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So part of our software package that we have is something called AutoTurn. And if we can talk to the garbage companies or to whoever else is out in the fire department, we'll ask them what their largest rig is, and we'll get the truck size from the garbage company. And what we can do is we can model that, their turning radius, in our software and confirm that the radii is big enough, so that you don't have something like a 28-point turn. So we can do some of that modeling on our side, and we will.
Yeah, because one of the things I told them was that it doesn't sound like it, but it makes a difference. If they can get by with, you know, a 90-foot cul-de-sac rather than 100, that's a lot less concrete. I mean, that's, you know, that's the kind of, we need some value engineering during this for some of the stuff we're doing. And, you know, I don't want to make it, that's why it's on them. Tell us what, you know, what you need, but you know, that's some of the things we're,
Yeah, your company does that? You guys are going to do that, or you need us to initiate that?
If you've already initiated it, then we can either continue the conversation, or if it's something as easy as they know off the top of their head what works for them, then you can tell us. But if they don't know, or, you know, what we can do is take their truck size, figure out how many, you know, what the length of it is, and we can put it in our software and make sure that they can make those turns around the cul-de-sacs without doing, you know, 5-point turns.
right, yeah, I mean, it's,
And that's the stuff that we'll be working on in preliminary design in that first 2 months.
Did we decide what to do with the boat cul-de-sac and in the middle like that?
that, I talked to the fire department, that's gonna end up being some sort of hammerhead, something like a trapezoid. It's not gonna be a cul-de-sac. You know what that, where they missed, right? The street tees into it, one